Hello, everyone. We are live. I've got Fabian here, and we're going to talk about the Enneagram today.
Now I'm here.
Now you're here. Yes, your face was off screen for a moment, and now it is on screen.
I was texting your brother.
Oh, were you?
I was.
Great. Perfect. So we're talking about the Enneagram today. Fabian is an unofficial expert.
Ha!
And I am still learning, but I know it fairly well myself. So we're going to start with, I think some of you know a lot about it. Some of you are curious. Some of you don't know much. So we're just going to start with some of the basics, and then maybe we'll get a little more deep depending on what questions we have to answer and things like that. So you wanted to start, how did you want to start, Fabes? The Enneagram itself, what is it?
Hi, everyone. The Enneagram itself, I know in one of the books I've read about it, they talk some about the history of the Enneagram. And then there's some guy, I don't know, it's weird to me. There's like a guy in South America named Oscar, I forget his last name, who's like, I'm the guy that brought the Enneagram back and has...
From South America?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's a guy in South America. But it's ancient wisdom. It just is. It's just ancient wisdom.
I agree with that.
And a lot revolving around numerology of 1 through 9, our basic numbers. So, but really, the Enneagram's a lot too. As I've read, it can feel overwhelming or annoying, as Colleen has called it. Just because I think people probably just find it annoying, or because they just go try to take it all in at once, and that's fine. If you're genuinely it's a system, right? So if you're genuinely interested in the Enneagram, I think there's a way, I'll tell you how I did it, like to follow the system along from the broad scale and then down to the weeds and all the other things. Like and
then how to use it on yourself,
right,
and other people.
And primarily the way I think it's talked about popularly, the way the Enneagram's talked about, the way I pretty much only talk about it, is with regards to ego fixation and whittling away the mask of a fixation, letting go of a limiting belief, and seeing yourself purify, as it were, or transcend out of your limiting belief or ego fixation. There are other things the Enneagram addresses, tendencies, things about life, but that's pretty much like from this, I think that's the way most people look at it. We have this type, one of the 9 types, and that's like how a fixation, a limiting energy pattern appears in our life. And it's like a facet of this. It's a 9-faceted, you think of it as a 9-faceted 3-dimensional shape,
like
right?
A prism.
A prism. And let's say your pure, totally authentic self is this white light that's just burning inside you. And there's this 9-faceted prism surrounding the light. And different facets of these 9 sides are shaded or blacked out to some degree or other, or more clear than some of the other facets.
Oh, I'm going to go turn that off.
So our pure light is getting out, right? It's not that it's all blocked, it's all getting out. But maybe one facet is really dark and there's shadow there to look at, and we want to bring conscious light to there to clean that part of our consciousness. And that's the type. So when we say I'm a type 6, by the way, but I think people should get away from that language. No, you're not a type 6. You have a type 6 fixation that's prominent within your limiting belief pattern. Okay.
It's like your favorite defense mechanism.
Right. So like I said, the ultimate thing is to learn enough about the system and what it says about the way a blind spot on our consciousness, it's unconscious behavior ultimately that we're acting out, that
I would say unconscious motivation.
It's unconscious. It is ego driven. It does come from a place of fear and lack, and it's designed to get your needs met, but it's doing it in a contrived, manufactured, manipulative way. And it's just why we're just where we're at as humans evolutionarily, I think.
Yeah.
Right? It's just we all do it. We're all it's actually very boring. I found like when I really studied Enneagram and finally got that it's people's limiting beliefs and stories are pretty fucking boring. There's not that many. Like your victim story, I like
it's not unique.
It's not unique. It can be tragic, it can be sad. We're not trying to
Well, everyone's experiences are special in their own way, yet the story that we end up telling ourselves and the beliefs that end up coming out of those experiences are the part that's not unique. We kind of have only 9 ways of understanding the experiences that we've had through our ego. That's how I would put it.
Yeah. And type 4s, of course, are probably the ones most prone to romanticize their fixation itself and identify with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but that's just for people who already know what we're talking about. So
let's talk about, should we just go over the 9 types?
So yeah, like I said, I'm just going to talk about the Enneagram for a bit in the way I digested it, in the way I think most people do, in the way it's kind of like the most logical perhaps or systematic. Like you could pick up a book, and I have, and just read through types 1 through 9, or the book will probably organize it differently.
We'll post a link to it.
So the point is, if you've seen an Enneagram shape, I can't share screen right now. It's in that 9 facets I said, right? But there's a core triangle inside, an equilateral triangle that's called the core triangle inside that diagram that has points 3, 6. Oh my God, I just wrote it wrong.
I was like, that's not.
I was just writing it on a piece of paper and I wrote it wrong.
That's not where the 3 is.
I put the 3 in the wrong place. It's so funny.
9, 3, 6. There you go.
That's this. So if you're following along, in 3, 6, 9. So we're going to get a ton of Enneagram information just from looking at that. And obviously there are the other types, the wings of those, right? 8 and 1 around with 9, and so on. 2, 4 with 3,
2 and 4
5,
with
7
3,
with
and
6.
5, 7 with 6.
So that's the core shape. And so it mind, body, and spirit. So a fixation, remember this 9-faceted, I don't even know what the term for a 9-faceted geoid 3-dimensional shape is. I'm sure there's a term. So which facet is the most blurred or the most blacked out, the piece of us that we're most unconscious of? And it can fixate in the mind in like thought patterns more predominantly, or in the body more predominantly, or in our emotions more predominantly.
And by fixation, we mean the way, like our ego's favorite way of deceiving ourselves about our motivations and our needs. That's how I think of it.
So
it's like the preferred way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the way it is actually very akin to a rut in a road. Old roads anyway, that were like mud roads, or a trail, beaten down part of a trail. Like the neurons in our brain have just gotten used to a certain pattern, and it's a limiting pattern. And because again,
Enneahedron.
Thank you, Enneahedron. Great, makes sense. So 9 goes with body, 3 goes with emotions, 6 goes with mind. Perhaps there's some numerological connections there. I think there are, but that's not the point. So for people who have a body fixation, they're predominantly dealing with unconscious anger.
Anger is the emotion that they're repressing.
Right. And what's important to understand about the core points, so if you are a 3, a 6, or a 9, the fixation is completely unaware to you at your worst, at the most disintegrated level, right? So we're talking about going from disintegration to integration, from totally blacked out to totally light.
And disintegration to me means we have all these aspects of who we are as people, but we push them away from ourselves to separate them from our identity. And integration is actually drawing them back in and allowing them to be a part of who we are, because they are a part of who we are.
Yeah. So in sixes, so in all the core points, people are completely dissociated from that. So a person with an anger fixation, a 9, like anger is so just, they don't even like know what anger feels like.
Yeah,
they wouldn't even be able to identify. They'd have a real hard time identifying it themselves. And when they did feel it, they would cope, or they wouldn't cope. They would use avoidance techniques.
Yeah, a type 9 who's suppressing anger, repressing anger would feel tired.
Yeah.
They would get tired from it. They wouldn't necessarily know why they're tired, but they would feel very tired because that energy so much energy is being used to push away the anger.
A 3 emotional fixation is going to be like dissociated from their authenticity, actually.
Yes.
And therefore kind of dissociated from like real joy. Because it's so like success driven on other people's terms. Like I'm trying to be amazing and great at something and be success driven, but it's not. The people that are really bad in that spot, they're doing it not for themselves, and they're not even sure what themselves is in a way.
Right. They're doing it to get validation because they think the only way to get love is by achieving.
Right. So remember, these are all manipulations.
So the unconscious. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, remember, these are all manipulations.
Right.
The fixated behaviors are manipulations to get validation and love.
And they're unconscious, so no one is doing it from a malicious place.
Right.
It's from a place of wanting to protect oneself.
Right. So the type 9 is suppressing anger to manipulate and manufacture peace, basically, when they're actually they have anger that hasn't been addressed. The type 3 is trying to manufacture joy, just feeling good out of succeeding, creating success in some way, even if it's completely inauthentic.
Let's talk about the type 3.
And then, well, hold on. Oh, go ahead. You want to talk about 3?
Well, you were talking, type 3 is heart, emotion fixation, heart fixation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had the type 9, which is the body fixation, the what do you call it? The core?
We're talking about core points right now, yes.
Right, so the 3, the core point is heart fixated, and it's shame that they're repressing and suppressing, right?
2s and 4s more so, but they're suppressing their own wants.
But what's the emotion that they're repressing? Like type 9 is repressing anger, type 3 is repressing shame.
Yeah.
Well, because type 9s want peace, is what you're saying, and type 3s want authenticity.
Okay. Is that all you were pointing out?
Yeah. I want to talk about the emotion that's being suppressed, because we talked about it for the
I didn't know
type
what
9.
you were trying. Sorry, I didn't get what you were saying.
I'm linear. I want to have these things line up.
Because okay. So I was going to get to type 6, which is the final core point.
Yes.
And the final core point is fear. So the person is completely dissociating from fear, not fear of anything particular, but the experience of fear. Like I'm trying not to experience fear. I don't even, back to your point, we were just saying about shame, it's actually hysteria that they're suppressing.
Okay.
I think that's why I stuttered for a second. The core 9 is suppressing, you suppress shame, you're type 2.
Yay.
Stay in your lane. 9. So far we're suppressing anger, suppressing hysteria. Now we're suppressing fear, and any experience of anxiety is what the type 6 is doing. It's a very mental process. It plays out very heady. I'm a 6, so the breakthrough for me was to realize how much anxiety I had been living with in my life. Be like, oh, this is actually not normal. Like the amount of anxiety, like there's things I'm actually very cowardly about. That's obviously I've talked about this. It's something I talk about a lot, I think. But the humbling of that, the humility that came from that realization. So humility itself is something for us to work on, and for type 2s to work on. And I got to it through, right? Even though I got to that through having my breakthrough in my primary fixation, which is type 6.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've outlined 3, 6, and 9 enough. Like, what is that? Just what is the core triangle? What's being suppressed? And remember, there's behaviors that arise from that suppression that are manipulations. They are unconscious, and they are attempts to manufacture love, manufacture confidence, manufacture joy, manufacture. So the behaviors that come out of the blockage, the light being blocked, are fixated. Okay.
Right. Also, the 6 is a mind fixation, which we didn't mention. Or
6 is mind. I said that.
Cool.
So the last basic component of the Enneagram we'll do now, and then go back to some questions people already asked, or ask any more questions.
Yeah.
And then obviously leave you with like, all right, well, what do we do about it? And I think Zaris had a question that'll help answer. So now I've written some numbers in. So if you look at if you look up the Enneagram, I have it here. Hold on. I just realized I got it.
The picture?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
There it is. Is this all right?
Yeah.
That's it.
It's shown.
I just only drew in the 3, 6, 9 chord triangle so far. You can ignore those words for now or ask me later. Okay. So now I've just drawn in the other 6 points, and they would be connected like that. Again, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just understand there's core points, and each core point has a wing on either side. So the core points are completely unaware of like anger and anxiety and like hysteria even existing.
Yes.
They're acting angry, or they don't even know what it feels like. And then they go, oh my God, I'm actually angry. Oh my, like in my case, oh my God, I actually have a lot of anxiety.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm actually ashamed of all these things.
Right. So yes. So so there's a way that then, so if that's at the core, there's an interiorized version and then an exteriorized version. So let's stick with type 9. The exterior version is 8. So if 9 is completely like unaware of the anger, 8s are outwardly expressing anger. And again, they're kind of like unaware of how much they're actually outwardly expressing it. But at the core points 3, 6, and 9, there's kind of like a perceived lack of the fixation. You can see when people are outwardly angry, right?
Can we also say the names of the archetypes when we say the types?
Let's come back to that at the end.
Okay.
I just want to make the point that at the core, the anger is completely suppressed, and then there's then the wing types are then exteriorized, pushing the anger out and kind of creating a shield around them to manufacture safety, perhaps. Manufacture getting their needs met by pushing anger out as a shield. And then the type 1s interiorize the anger and try to get what they want by just swallowing it. So that's resentment. And so resentment builds up in type 1s, and they're aware of it actually. They're not really aware of why it's happening or what it is, but they're aware. Remember, the type 9, there's a lack of awareness. The type 8, there's the outward energy flow of the anger, and the type 1, there's the inward energy flow of the anger. Type 2, outward version of emotion, hysteria, basically, right? You want to talk about that? Since that's you?
Sure. Since that's me, yay.
Remember, it's not us. I'm sorry. I said at the beginning of this video, don't label yourself a type 2 or type 6.
It's funny.
People forget, like, no, you're supposed to work on it and transcend it. It's not just who you are.
No.
I'm going to go to the bathroom, and you can talk about being a type 2 a little bit.
Okay, great. Type 2, I mean, outward expression of hysteria. In a type 2, it comes in the form of obsessing over other people and wanting to know what other people are doing, what they're thinking, what they need, so the whole thing is, I have needs, but I'm going to repress my needs because I'm ashamed that I have them. And instead, I'm going to obsess about other people's needs and what they want and try to help them and kind of obsessively help them from this kind of place of feeling superior and prideful about not having needs, but actually having them, but repressing them, and wanting the needs to be met so deeply, but not asking for them to be met. Instead, going around obsessing about other people in hopes that eventually someone will turn around and say, but what do you need? But rarely does that ever happen, because the type 2 will also, because of that repression and the shame about having the needs and then not even admitting about having them, won't actually share that they have needs. And so if someone says, what do you need? They say, nothing, I'm fine. And then eventually break down into a hysterical mess of realizing I have all these needs and no one's helping me. So then this resentment builds up. It's a whole thing.
Are we still on type 2?
Yeah, I was talking about type 2.
So is that it? You good?
I would say that's the general expression of a type
So
2.
go in focusing out on other people's needs. Again, this is the exterior version of the energy.
Not wanting to admit to the hysteria within, and so then kind of putting that energy is domineering and putting it on other people.
Putting it on other people. Right.
What can I do for you? Oh, I brought you this thing.
Right.
You know, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And people are like, hey, I'm good actually. Thanks. Or people take advantage of that person because they're like, oh, you're going to just keep giving to me and helping me?
That's why I married you.
Because I'm like, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? And a lot of the time you're like, leave me alone. And I'm like,
no, so
perfect,
I can take advantage of you.
No. Great. Thank you.
I don't take advantage.
No, you don't. It's all consensual.
Oh, she can see that.
So that's type 2.
Are we on to type 4 now?
No, yes, type 4.
Right. So the interiorized version, I still have trouble explaining type 4s. It's still the one I come to that trips me out a little bit. It's
probably because you have a lot of type 4.
Maybe. How would you describe type 4?
I would describe, I think the hysteria is internalized because of a need for drama and romanticizing the drama of life. So life being even and mellow is very boring to a type 4. So that hysteria, they make their lives hysterical, like their inner world is hysterical. They, the highs are high, the lows are low. It's chaotic, emotionally chaotic, and they feed off of that.
Yeah. I guess the thing about them that drives me crazy is they also feel special for it, which I mentioned at the beginning of this video, actually.
Yeah.
So they're really wrapped up in their own drama inside themselves, playing out this drama inside them. And they're just so lamenty and romantic about it. And then when you go back and listen to music, you realize how much music is driven by this energy pattern. A lot of type 4's artists. Because they are actually because it's actually one of their gifts, which we were going to get to. That's what we're going to get to.
Yes.
Was even though they're playing out this drama, it does expose them to like a big spectrum of emotions. So they actually do learn about them.
And it's an authentic feeling for them.
We learn a lot from having our fixation. It makes life kind of cool once you kind of get out of the drama, I guess.
Right.
All right. So let me wrap up real quick. 6, suppressing anxiety, fear. 7s are taking that energy and pushing it out in the form of hedonism, in the form of just like doing a lot, volunteering, going on adventures, staying busy. Drug use can be really abused here. That's part of hedonism. Just staying active so they don't have to think. They don't give themselves downtime to have their brain just chill. So they just pushing out avoiding that feeling of anxiety by putting out tons of energy
and being busy.
And 5s interiorize that energy by this is my wing. I get this is conceptualizing things, consuming information, trying to rationalize the anxiety. Okay, this is why I'm anxious. This is what's happened in my life that has made me anxious. Yeah. Okay, so they can do that, and there is relief that comes from kind of like wrapping one's head around something. Be like, oh, okay, I wrapped my head around this, and now I feel better. That's true. There is a bump. I feel like I can really speak to this.
Okay, go for it.
There is definitely an emotional bump that comes from it, like doing a drug, like to wrap my head around an issue and be like, oh, that's why I feel anxious. Now you got to heal. So type 4s can really feel it. They have a real emotional awareness. Type 5s can really conceptualize what's happening, but they struggle doing anything about it. They actually have a hard time getting over the hump, even though they can see the hump better than anyone.
Yes. Hump. They don't want to feel their emotions. They want to think about their emotions.
Yes. Okay. Now, that's at this point in the video, like that's as far as we're going to go into like 101 elements. Hopefully it helps you understand. There's core points, there's wing points. There's the core points, just not even noticing. There's the exterior pushing the energy out. the interior putting the energy in, and certain types of behaviors come out of that. Cassandra asked me to tell you what the archetypal names are for those behaviors.
Well, because we all say things like type 9, type 2. That doesn't mean anything to
So,
anybody. It's jargon.
I'm just going to ask people
I think
if they want to know more about any of these. I don't really want to go through all of them.
I do.
You do? Okay.
I just want to at least say what the...
Oh, I'm showing it to them now. This is just one book's name. So
type 1.
Those are, so for example, I'll take the book down in a sec. So like type 9, mediator. You want which one do you want to
Sure,
example?
Mediator. We've been talking a lot about type 9, the mediator. That's fine with me.
So type 9, the mediator. Sounds good, right? Oh, mediator, great. A lot of these sound good. Some of them.
Peacemaker is another name for them.
Peacemaker, right. Peacemaker is the other name you hear a lot in Enneagram language. Okay, so cool. Peacekeeper, mediator, right? Sounds great. Like, what's the problem with that? Again, it's neutral, first of all, but understand that in the fixated context, it's a manipulation. It's trying to manufacture getting needs met, getting love, especially in nines. Nines are
trying to manufacture love itself.
Nines are really trying to manufacture love itself, by the way. So they view the lack of anger as loving. That's where they got their wire crossed.
Right.
So they try to, their behavior is to eliminate anger in their environment. And they do that by just kind of blending in with people.
Making themselves small.
Keeping themselves small, social chameleons.
They repress their needs too a lot of the time.
Putting other people's needs ahead of theirs, which other people do too, but they do it in the name of eliminating anger.
Making things chill.
They are the one type actually that is really like their path is about is creating waves. Everyone else is kind of like energy that's out of control, and we need to bring it into control. Nines need to actually bring some of their own inner passion to things and get and express their boundaries. Otherwise, the anger stays suppressed.
They need to advocate for their needs. They need to express their anger in a healthy way, and they also need to be direct.
Right. So let's stick with the body fixation points, because we can also demonstrate the exterior-interiorized version. Let's go to point 8, protector. Again, sounds good, right? Oh, a protector. I want a protector. Well, they're pushing. Cassandra mentioned how as a type 2, she pushes her energy out on other people and is constantly giving advice and asking if they're okay. And at their worst, this is what they do at their worst, by the way. I'm not saying that's just what.
It's being focused on other people and not oneself.
Right. At its worst, it's obviously overwhelming and terrible.
We've all been around somebody who wants to constantly do things for us and we don't really need them to.
Yeah. Okay, good point. Think about that person. Be like, oh, okay, they might be having this thing. Anyway.
They probably are.
So 8 is pushing out energy by putting themselves in positions of authority above other people and putting themselves in positions of protecting other people. Okay, so they're going out energetically, looking out to other people and identifying people around them that they can keep themselves in some kind of power dynamic of protecting or authority above other people.
Yes. And
that way they can be, I think, they can be loud and aggressive and
angry.
And be angry, but angry on other people's behalf in a way.
Yes, it's on other people's behalf. It's always on other people's behalf.
I've gotten great advice from type 8s, and type 8s have helped me a lot because they have so much energy and they can bring me out of my shell and we can go do something.
They can be very domineering.
But so
it's in the name of really what they want to do. So the core for them is they feel weak and small inside. And so they're projecting this image of being strong and not vulnerable and kind of taking over.
Very bullyish.
Yeah, kind of bullyish. But oftentimes, there are plenty of times where they're a bully, just a straight up bully. They don't necessarily have a cause. But plenty of them find a cause that they're going to rally about. And they're going to, protect the downtrodden and whatnot.
Yeah. So their anger is serving a purpose. Like, I'm angry to protect people. Okay, great. But
really, you're just angry.
they're also avoiding vulnerability.
Yeah.
They're avoiding letting people get close enough to them to give them honest, heartfelt feedback. So type 8s are really, that's where their growth is.
Yes.
And then remember, 1's perfectionist. Okay, now we get a name that sounds bad, right? We don't like the sound of perfectionism. Like, most of us acknowledge perfectionism is somehow bad.
Unhealthy.
Okay, again, it's a behavior that a type 1 exhibits, and you can see it.
So they're internalizing anger.
They're internalizing anger, and the resentment is building up, and their way of dealing with the resentment is to critique and be like, this could be better, this could be better, this could be better. They're just very biting and critical, and they are also holding themselves to extremely high standards.
Extremely.
Whatever it is that they're doing that needs to have a standard, they're like, I have high standards, and all these people around me don't have high standards. And then so resentment comes from that.
Yeah, people are not following what they believe to be the proper code of action and ethics.
Right.
They themselves have created for themselves and then hold themselves to, and then are constantly looking around, policing what everyone else is doing because they want them to also follow that code.
Right.
And it's really all about their core wound has to do with feeling like they're afraid that they might be a bad person.
Yeah.
And so they want to protect themselves from the possible truth that they're a bad person, which of course that's not true. It's just a belief and wound that they have that they're trying to overcome and overcompensate for.
Yeah. And because they themselves have been judged, or maybe early in life
someone told them they were bad.
Someone told them they were bad, and it just became the limiting pattern in their life.
Like type 8s.
So they've tried to be, so they're angry about it, and they've swallowed it and internalized it, and are trying to be perfect so that they can avoid an experience of anger.
Right.
If I can be perfect, then no one will ever get mad at me. It's like, it is that simple.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you want to go through all of them?
I do.
All right.
Yes.
I think what we can weave in here as we go through, though, is a little bit of we're saying how people are wounded and how that limiting pattern has a name. And we've looked at 3 of those names so far.
Yes.
Right? Mediator, protector, and perfectionist. But when people, let's just finish this part.
Well, the key that we were going to talk about, which I think we can talk about right now, is that your virtue and your vice are the same. So the perfectionist, just to use an example, the vice is being overly critical and obsessing. This should be like this should be like this, that's wrong, you're wrong, right? So on the one hand, that obsession and that resentment that builds up would be a disintegrated version of that person, an unhealthy version of that person. The healthy version of that person is essentially the same, it's just flipping the coin to the other side. The virtue is being really, really good at detail-oriented, being really good at seeing problems, knowing how to solve them. So like really, really good, exquisite problem-solving skills. So from a virtuous place, not from a place of trying to overcompensate and be right all the time, but from a place of genuinely fixing things. Yeah. Making the world a better place.
As each type does their inner work, and inner work, God, that's a million ways, and it's a whole other thing, right? We're all trying to find paths of inner work that actually work for us. I'm a journaling advocate and an EFT advocate. She's an EFT advocate and a yoga advocate, and so on. This has to do with the wound is your way thing you hear a lot of people say. So again, that type 1 was told they did something wrong, they were wounded, and then they got into fixated behavior, and now they're doing inner work and they're realizing, what does the 1 get to feel as they're letting go of the fixated behavior is a sense that everything is perfect as it is.
Acceptance.
Right? They get that there's certain universal truths each type kind of works their way back to. And for one, it's that everything is already perfect the way it is. And so ones can really learn to embody the essence of purity and just be pure, just stand for purity in the world without judging things as good or bad. They can just stand for purity.
Yeah, it's not like making things pure. It's like seeing the fact that they are pure.
Yes, and embody it. And purity is also a different experience than making things good, because we're not attaching morality to it, I guess. So with the type 8s, hold on, there's one book I wanted to reference for these. I'll show you my books in a sec too. For the type 8s, the protectors, they are working their way back to that of innocence, of understanding everyone begins in innocence, everyone begins without being sly, and everyone can sense truth.
And also, I think connecting to their own inner child and their own innocence.
So
like
that's
the innocence that was essentially
right.
robbed from them as a child.
So type 8's inner work will often revolve around inner child work.
Yes.
Because they forgot about innocence.
Yeah.
And forgot that everyone starts in innocence.
They're really trying to protect their own inner child as they go around doing their protecting.
Yep. Absolutely. So as they do inner work, they remember that truth that everyone started in innocence. And they also learn to just embody like energy itself, because 8s have so much energy and they can put out so much energy. Perhaps the most of any of the types. They can just put out the most energy. They can be a moving force, a catalytic force in their lives and in their communities without putting that protectorism on everybody. They can just bring energy in a very pure way, as it were.
Yes.
And then so 9s do inner work, and they come to remember that everyone belongs equally in the state of unconditional love and union.
Everyone already is in that state.
Everyone belongs. Well, everyone is. But everyone
has a place.
Everyone has a place, whether they realize it or not.
Okay.
And type 9s got resent. Well, yeah, they came to get angry and learn that the world requires people to blend in. The world makes people unimportant.
Somebody in their life made them small. The only way to be safe was for them to be small. They had to make themselves small to be safe.
To blend in
to
and
keep the peace.
Manufacture whatever love or security or peace they needed in their life. They had to be small about it. So 9s can remember, no, we all belong equally in a state of unconventional love.
Well, and anger, expressing anger and being angry is that it's not separate from love. You can be loving and be angry. You can be loving, you know what I mean? You don't have to. Yeah. Anger and love are not opposites.
Yeah. So the payoff, right. It means in your life, 9s, you have to learn to just do what you think is right in any moment and not sell out to get everyone to get along. No, do what you think is right.
Grow your backbone.
And grow a backbone and have boundaries will serve you in that way.
Yes.
So that the payoff to doing inner work for the 9 is, well, because they've already spent so much energy in their fixations focusing out on people and seeing what's going on and seeing what the dynamics are and seeing how people are relating to each other. Now, instead of doing that in a manufactured way, they can just be awareness. They can just be awareness itself. They can just be aware. They can be just pure beingness. Just be in your environment, doing your inner work, and having boundaries is actually going to make you see even opportunities for unity even more. So if you're someone who really cares about unity, which type 9s are, and peacekeeping, don't try and manufacture it to make yourself feel good. Actually do your inner work and become someone who can really see the full picture more objectively and come from that place. It's so much more powerful, and it is power, and it is what the 9 gets to realize. Like, oh, I can be powerful in this way and not get just like be a doormat.
Yeah. I think you're right. I don't think we're gonna have time to go through all the types. You want to talk about the holy path?
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What are we got? 40 minutes already?
We can go for a little.
So if you were to continue to study, hopefully by showing you what came up around type 9, you can just take that to the other core points. What are some of the dangers in only seeing our vices versus our virtue? My circle has only explored the Enneagram as a way to point out virtuous points. Well, okay, so I
understand.
I understand what you're saying, but you're saying your circle has only explored the Enneagram as a way to point out virtues,
like strengths. What's the strength of a type 2? What's the strength of a type 9?
Well, the problem of ignoring your vice,
that's spiritual bypassing,
is spiritual bypass, because you're only going to get to your virtue. You can't manufacture it. That's the whole point.
From a true, true experience of the virtue would be from looking at the vice and essentially healing it. So seeing what the core wound is, feeling, essentially the key is that you've got to feel the repressed emotions that come up when you see the pattern. Like, for example, type 2, we were talking about, that's called the helper. That's one of the names for the type 2, or the giver. Or the giver. So obsessively repressing one's own needs and then trying to fulfill other people's needs all the time in a manipulative way in order to get one's own needs met in this really roundabout, indirect way without ever having to ask for them and without ever having to be vulnerable. So when I first realized that, for example, when I first saw that pattern, that, wow, I'm just so helpful and I'm just helping everybody, it comes from a place of pride. Seeing one's own pride, my own pride, made me feel shame. I felt ashamed. Like, wow, I've been doing this. This is really embarrassing. Like, I thought, here I was thinking that I was this like righteous person who was going around helping everybody, when really I was trying to get mine. So the shame came up, like, wow, that's really embarrassing. So feeling the shame and seeing the pattern is the pathway to integration, because then essentially what one learns, for example, about giving, overly giving, I have needs. What are they? Let me figure that out. That would be a growth point. Asking, I need this. Can you please give it to me? That's a growth point. That's vulnerability and letting go of pride. And then also, if someone wants your help, wait for them to ask for it rather than just offering it from a place of superiority, like, I can help you, you need me, kind of thing. It's another growth point. And then if someone asks for help, deciding why you're going to say yes. Am I saying yes because I want something from you that I'm going to later try to like get you to pay me back for? Or am I saying yes from this genuine place of, I can just give this to you because I want to? So there's all these discernments that come out of looking at the vice and then doing the work, seeing the pattern, what emotion arises when the pattern is revealed, feeling that, and then doing the practices.
So type 2s really want freedom also. It's their holy idea. I'll explain that more perhaps. Whole idea and holy path. But Stephanie, you're asking your questions, so perhaps you've seen those already. So for 2s, it's freedom. What they don't realize is, again, pride has been running them, and pride is not, that's an energy suck, right? It's not empowering.
It's a low vibration.
It's actually on a low vibration. So their pride and their energy that they're putting out into the environment to like try and help people and try to and give people advice or give to people with the expectations on it is burning them out. Mm-hmm. So they want freedom from that.
Yes.
So what they get to do is, when shame or something humiliating happens, let themselves fully experience the humiliation or the shame that comes in any spontaneous experience. It's not manufactured. Remember, they can't manufacture freedom by just going, oh, I'm going to go out and be free. And you can't really manufacture the path either. All you can do is in the moment for type 2s, realize, this is for any of the holy paths of any types. I'm a type 6, it's courage. I can't go out. When fear arises and I feel anxiety, all I can do is be courageous. When shame and humiliation hits a type 2, they just got to sit with it and let the humility purify, eat away at the pride. Right. Let the humiliation eat away at the pride, and then the payoff of humility.
Okay. I have one other thing to say to address this question.
Yes.
What are the dangers in only seeing the vice? So the danger in only seeing the vice would be saying, well, this is just how I am.
Yeah, you would fixate.
It's kind of like staying in the fixation and then using that as an excuse to not grow as a person, to not, somebody tries to challenge you on your motivation or whatever it is, and just being like, no, this is just how I am. I'm this. I'm a type 2. I like helping people. That's just what I do. Rather than saying, but why? Why am I helping people? It's not actually from altruism.
It actually sounds like a type 4 question too, in a way. Like, what are some of the dangers in only seeing our vices? Well, it's not a type 4 question. It's like, what is happening to type 4s?
No, I see people do this with Enneagram or any personality.
How
or
so?
Even astrology. Like as if it's set in stone. Like, this is how I am.
Oh.
This is just who I am. This is how I'm just a Scorpio. I'm just a this or I'm just a that. Whereas all of these tools are tools, and they're there to support us in becoming more aware, raising our consciousness. Raising our consciousness just means becoming more aware and self-study. So that's all. It's not like I'm a type 2 and this is how I am. It's like my fixation is type 2, and so I can learn from this essentially, and I can grow as a person, to answer your question. Really quick, Francine, we're going to post a link to do a little test. The best way is to talk to somebody who knows the system and they can help type you. Fabian is one of those people. You can also get an official test online, but we'll post a link for you to do the test so you can find out what yours is. You want to answer Azaris's question now?
Which was rituals.
Let me find it.
Had to do with rituals to support. She's a
type 9.
She has 9 stuff. It's like rituals to support her growth. So the Enneagram system already lays out something called the holy idea and the holy path.
Okay, let me answer the question really quick. What type of person is the so-called lone wolf? Probably a type 5.
Certain types, all the interiorized types are obviously going to be more prone to that. I have a 1 can be a lone wolf. 1s and 5s seem like the most lone wolfy to me, because even though 4s are interiorized, they still like need people around them to try like suck their energy and validate their fucking drama. Whereas type 1s can really hole up, and type 5s can really hole up. Type 6s could do it.
A low functioning type 6 would
a very low functioning type 6 could be a total lone wolf. It'd be sad, actually.
Type 1 is the perfectionist. There. Type 4 is like the romantic. What's another name for the romantic? I don't remember.
What type we talking about?
4.
Romantic.
Okay, I thought there was 2 names, and then the type 5 is the observer. Okay. Question. I'm starting to get the hang of creating sacred ritual containers and processes in many aspects of my life. How can I use Enneagram as a framework for forming empowering rituals for myself in my creative process? What do you got for that? It's a good question.
Sorry, give me a sec. Yeah, this is what I was going to say. So I'll answer this question by talking about the holy ideas and the holy path. And the more secular terms for those are like higher mind and virtue. Uh-huh. I think holy idea and holy path are common terms you'll hear, but remember that it could be called the virtue actually itself, which is the path, and the higher mind, which is the holy idea. So to create rituals there, I would look at the holy idea. The holy idea is a concept that you can look at and wrap your mind around and create whatever little rituals you want to center yourself around that. So in the case of type 9, I like this guy's book.
From Fixation
On
to Freedom.
This guy's author has fallen out of favor a little bit.
Eli Jackson.
I guess there was a scandal where he cheated on his wife.
Okay, but his book is good. Okay,
But
great. We have to admit that he's a bad person, but that we like his book.
He cheated on his wife. Okay, so
he obviously was doing one of his fixations.
so he fixated for a sec. So for 9s, it's love itself. So a ritual based around unity, awareness itself, looking at the world and just bringing consciousness. This is why I like journaling so much, just writing it out, to the fact that you do have a manipulation, that you can see how you've manipulated. And I'm answering this question for you, Sarah, because you've seen it in yourself, and now you can use rituals. Like you've had the breakthrough. She's not a low functioning 9. I mean, she's just working on it, like we all are.
Yes.
So whatever's going to ground you in the fact that we are all one. We all already, everyone belongs equally in a state of unconditional love and union.
So
you can't go out. The trick is to just remind yourself that that's what you needed. Like any ritual, just going to remind yourself that love is actually what's going on.
So it sounds like self-love, practicing unconditional self-love would probably be a good way to practice the ritual.
Well,
any ritual that would bring that feeling of unconditional self-love could.
Just setting the intention. I want to be careful. To me, I want to be careful, especially with the Enneagram. Can you manufacture a ritual that's going to make you feel unconditional love? I say no. You're not going to sit down and be like, I'm going to do the ritual now that brings me unconditional love. No, you're setting the intention. I think that's a clear distinction to make. What do you think?
Like, I think practicing ritual, though, like people write gratitude lists, doesn't mean they feel gratitude every single day that they're writing it. But that one day they feel it.
This is a major pitfall that people fall into in self-help, I think, and transformation, is the manufacturing. And I've just read an article how someone was just writing gratitude lists for years and just got worse and worse and realized it was all manufactured. Do I think most people do that? I hope not. I don't know. But it is a pitfall to be aware of. You can't just get up and be like, I'm going to love everyone. You can set the intention to do that. But what's going to actually make it happen is then in your real life, in the moment, as you're out and about in the world, outside of the ritual. The ritual is to get clear on your intentionality, is to now see the opportunities that come up, which is the holy path. You can't manufacture it. You can kind of be intentional, but in the holy path for the type 9 is right action, I'm pretty sure. I think that's what he calls it in this book. And yeah, right action. So
doing what you think is right.
Willingness to not move into the fixation. You're in a group dynamic. You're with 10 people, some people want to have Chinese food for dinner and other people want pizza. And you just don't express an opinion because you're just going to go with whatever the majority says. Typical type 9 thing to do.
But you really want to have
So 5 people say they want pizza and 4 people say they want Chinese, and you go with the 5. So you upset the least amount of people. Instead of just saying, I want fucking pizza. Now it's 5 on 5 and we got to settle our difference a different way. Oh, we're upsetting the cart here. That's what type 9s do. They're going to make the choice to not upset the apple cart.
Right.
When the right action in that situation is to say, no, this is what I want.
Right.
I want this. Oh, it's 5-5 tied? Okay, we're going to have to figure out a way to deal with that.
Yeah.
And so
just get Thai pizza.
So set the intention that, hey, we're all unified. Everyone is loved no matter what. Okay, I can say I want pizza, not Chinese food. It's okay. And then when the moment comes up, don't move back into fixation. It's that so much self-help and growth and all these things on the path of transformation are preparing for that moment.
So being aware and being present
for
is
that
the
moment
key for everybody.
where you can go back to the fixated behavior or go, no, this is an opportunity to choose the holy path and grow. For me, it's fear. An anxious fear thing comes up. I can either like start being macho or do some fixated behavior that's gonna just take me away from the situation that's causing anxiety, which can be cowardly. Or be like, no, this is my moment to just feel anxiety and stay, which we call courage.
Yes.
Type 2s in the moment, they can, they have a moment.
It's having a need and being honest about it and vulnerable about it,
Yes.
and sharing the need, and then asking for someone to support them in getting it met.
Right. And they might feel humiliated or shamed
by having to do that.
But they need to do it. Go through it. Let that burning, let that awkward sensation be the spiritual fire that purifies you. Remember the 9-sided shape that's surrounding your pure inner light, the Enneagram. Right? That's Stephanie. So you've got this thing around your authentic, pure self that's shining.
So every time
and one facet is dirty.
Right.
One facet is impure, has impure. Let it be purified by your willingness to, in the moment, not go back into fixated behavior and choose the more virtuous path.
Right.
It will probably hurt at first.
Well, that's why they call it standing in the fire, and that's why they call it purification, because it's a refinement. It's an ego refinement. Okay, cool. An ego refinement. So essentially, just imagining that we have this cloudy prism all around us. Every time we make that choice, which it's a choice, so this has to do with our will and our personal power. We have choice in this situation. So we're moving along in life. That moment arises where we see we have this opportunity where we could choose to go back to our fear or our shame or whatever it is, or we can choose to move forward. Every time we move forward, it's kind of like we're taking a cloth and we're wiping down that cloudy glass in the prism, so more light shines through, and pretty soon we wipe down the whole entire glass on the prism, and then we turn and we can find another cloudy one and we can work on that. So that's the thing about the Enneagram. We essentially all have all 9 types. We just have our favorite type, that's the cloudiest. So we want to find that one and work on that one first. And then as we work on that one and clear it up, and our light is shining through, the other blind spot essentially shows up. Like, oh, well, now I got to work on this. Clear it up, clear it up. Oh, now I got to work on this. Clear it up, clear it up. And then we probably end up having to go back to that first one and do a little maintenance, essentially. So Fabian has let me know that he is finished with this talk. And so I just want to give a little bit of info about how to find. I'm going to post a link on how you can take the test. Fabian is very good at typing people in person. If you're interested in having a session with him and typing in person, you can book a session with him. I'll post a link for you to book a session with him for typing for Enneagram. Yes, Stephanie, give me 1 second. I'll answer that. So what else? Yeah, I'll type the link for you to test. If you want to test in person for something that's probably a little more accurate, I'll post a link for Fabian's scheduler. You can book a session with him. And then just really quick, I like to plug my own stuff. I've got a tarot card class coming up, which does deal with ego and ego fixations and personal choice and personal power and awareness. The tarot card class is something that you get to do on your own. So it's a downloadable class. It's an online course, and the pre-sale is going on right now. Tarot cards for beginners. I can post a link for that too. If you're interested in purchasing that, you get a bonus tarot card meditation along with that. The launch itself happens on December 21st, and that's with me.
Wow.
And Fabian's got a journaling course coming up in January, and you can get more information about that from him.
Yeah, I'm being more super secretive.
Yeah, journaling course. So just to sign off really quick, to answer your question, Stephanie, we can evolve in Enneagram types. Yeah, that's the point. The point is to evolve. The point is to grow, to go from low functioning, very very unconscious and asleep in our behaviors to high functioning, conscious, awake, and aware in our behaviors. Okay.
And transcendent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I mentioned with type 2s, freedom. Freedom is like a transcendent experience for them. For type 8s, Shakti, or just pure energy, is transcendent for them. Right?
Yeah.
For type 9s, love itself is even a transcendent feeling.
Yeah.
Type 3s, transcendent feelings, joy, like joy and bliss. For type 6, the transcendent feeling is like empty, like the mind chatter's done, and you can really get like intuition and just like just pure empty consciousness. It's kind of, I think, the most fun. I like it.
So it looks like we probably should do a part 2 of this video, which I'm open to doing.
An hour.
Yeah, we're done. An hour long. For anybody who wants to venture into it, you can watch the whole video. And thank you for those of you that have been watching. We will definitely do a part 2 because this topic is broad and vast. And that's it. I love you all. We'll post the links.
Do your inner work.
Do your inner work.
Let the fires purify you.
Okay. Bye.
Do it.